Islamabad is emerging as the leading venue for the next round of technical negotiations between the United States and Iran, diplomatic sources told Dawn. The technical talks are expected to take place on July 11, although a final decision on the venue has not yet been announced. Diplomatic sources say Islamabad and Switzerland's Burgenstock resort are being considered, with Islamabad currently the frontrunner. The negotiations are expected to focus on Iran's nuclear program, sanctions relief, and Iranian assets frozen abroad. The discussions are also expected to cover regional security, including efforts to preserve stability in the Strait of Hormuz and maintain the recently agreed ceasefire in Lebanon. The July 11 meeting is intended to advance the framework established under the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding, signed 2 weeks ago, which gives both sides 60 days to negotiate a comprehensive agreement on Iran's nuclear program and related issues. The talks were temporarily delayed because of the state funeral ceremonies for Iran's late Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Iranian officials say the composition of Tehran's delegation will be announced after the funeral ceremonies conclude. The latest diplomatic efforts follow indirect technical discussions held in Doha earlier this week. U.S. President Donald Trump described those talks as very good, while Iranian officials said the two sides had reached an understanding on the partial release of billions of dollars in frozen Iranian assets. U.S. officials, however, disputed that any such agreement had been reached. Diplomatic sources say mediators from Qatar and Pakistan continued facilitating indirect contacts during the pause in negotiations, with discussions focusing on ensuring freedom of navigation through the Strait of Hormuz and preserving the 60-day ceasefire agreed after the June negotiations in Switzerland. The most recent high-level negotiations were held at Switzerland's Burgenstock resort and were mediated by Qatar and Pakistan. Those talks produced what negotiators described as a roadmap covering Iran's nuclear program, sanctions relief, maritime security, and regional de-escalation. Diplomatic sources say negotiators discussed nuclear restrictions, sanctions relief, security in the Strait of Hormuz and the Lebanon ceasefire. While progress was reported, they cautioned that the process remains fragile amid continuing tensions between Washington and Tehran. Officials familiar with the negotiations say the next round of high-level direct talks is expected to take place in Doha during the third week of July, after technical teams complete work on the details of a possible agreement. Meanwhile, Washington and Tehran continued exchanging sharp remarks during Khamenei's funeral. Speaking at an Independence Day event at Mount Rushmore, President Donald Trump said Washington had given Iran a week off for a funeral because we're nice. He also said, "They are dying to settle. They want to settle so badly."